Natalia from Washoe, and Sherry Reed from White Pine.
And we have a second from, was that Senator Donjolo?
Apologies, I couldn't get that unmuted.
I thought I heard you say the second before, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
I did.
Any discussion on the motion? I'm not seeing any hands. Okay. Oh, yes. Assemblywoman Miller.
Here, Dennis, if I could just ask one more clarifying question. It sees, if we could have a number of the racial breakout for the entire recommendation list of how many we would have, how many are recommended for Black, Asian, and Latino representation?
Sure. And I'm going to ask staff if they would do that. If they can. I think they're probably adding some things on here.
Draw stop for the record. Would we be able to get back to you on that? We can get back to you shortly on that information.
Sure, perfect. I just know that this is of community interest, and so it's something that the public is interested in, and that get on the record.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and do the vote, and then we'll come back and just put that on the record, if that's okay. All right. Any further discussion? Thank you. So all in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Raise your hand. Assemblywoman Hardy, are you voting for or against? Oh, okay, so yeah, I figured your hand was still up from the first one, but I just want to make sure. Okay, the motion passes. The vote was unanimous. Okay, now we're going to go to agenda item number 5, presentation concerning the academic and mental health challenges facing students in the Black community. If we could take just a 1-minute break just to make sure that we're all set up. So just a real quick 1-minute break.
A 1-minute break. It's always interesting to see how this takes place. One person represents the whole world, but not in real life. In real life, it's just all of us, all or none.
Impacting our African again, and to all.
If they can. I think they're probably adding some things on here.
Draw stop for the record.
Is that you?
1 minute.
To be in compliance with ESSA as federally mandated. And then we go into the opportunity and access gap as it relates to high school diplomas. And I wanted to give you some current stats on that. By race for 2021 and high school diplomas by race, our African American students, or our Black students, achieved a 71% graduation rate. Our American Indian students, 77%. White, 85%, Asian, 94%, Pacific Islander, Alaskan, 84%, and by ethnicity, Hispanic, 79%. There is a 23-point literacy gap by race for Black students and our Asian students. And so that's a 23-point that we need to address going forward. And then as far as a number of advanced diplomas by race and by Hispanic ethnicity for 21, it was 246 advanced diplomas for our Black students. Our American Indian students had none last year. White was 888, Asian 296 students, Pacific Islander, Alaskan 59, and by ethnicity Hispanic 800, I think I have the number wrong, 888, but on my sheet that I send you, you'll have the correct number. I must have transposed something there. The number of CCR, Career and College Readiness diplomas, which is a big concern for ours, and the access gap that we have for our Black students. For 2021, although we did see some improvement, Black students, we saw 384, American Indian 18, White 2,087, Asian 913, Pacific Islander 87, and by ethnicity Hispanic 2,086. I would like to note that in 2019, in CCSD, it was 228 diplomas, and in the state, 279 for Black students. So we did see an improvement there. Although there was no improvement in 2020 because of COVID, we believe. So Black students are still struggling with accessing the CCR diploma. Which brings me to the, in average, I might as well go into, no, I think I'll wait on that. So the opportunity gap we discussed, the career and technical programs continue to be a concern for us as well with accessing those programs in those schools where we have predominant or larger populations of Black students. But an average percentage of student groups participating in a CTE program over the last 3 years, we just did kind of an average, out of all students participating in a CTE program in 2021, Hispanic students represented 48%, white students 24%, Black students 12%, Asian students 8%, Pacific Islanders 2%, and American Indian 0.03%, so we're not even at 1% there. An example in 2021 by subgroup, so that you have some context as far as the number of students being served, it's 26,404 Hispanic students, 12,792 white students, 6,811 Black students, 4,164 Asian students, 919 Pacific Islander students, and 186 American Indian Alaskan students.
Mm-hmm.
Now we move to zone variances, and I'm moving kind of fast, and I know that I am, so I apologize for that, but I want to make sure we get to mental health because that's a big concern for us right now, and I know it is for you too. When we talk about zone variances, we're very happy that CCSD actually centralized their choice schools. I have been working very closely with CCSD on the lack of access for our choice schools here in Clark County School District. And so they have agreed to move that centralize that to provide more equity and more support for diversity and inclusion. And so we don't have any numbers on that yet because that is brand new for this upcoming school year. But we are very excited and feel very confident that we'll start to see our Black students being able to access. The numbers I don't have those nor the time to share those with you. But if you want that more information about that, I'm happy to provide that for you. As far as proficiency gaps, again, with losing the SB 178 funding, which gave us an additional $1,200 for students who are least proficient, and the new funding formula, we're very concerned because we're not seeing these no harm promise applying to this group of students. And so we're really, again, stressing that the committee take a look at that and what they're going to do about that. Again, we're going to come back to you about our recommendations, but I would like to, as I segue into mental health, I would like to say that on behalf of the Black Caucus, our members and our community, we really want to emphasize the importance of mental health support. I think these numbers will be telling in listening to one of the public comments around some of the stats that were provided. You're going to see a disparity by the numbers we're going to offer you today. We had in October our annual African American Student Summit, and some of you were there, so thank you for coming. We appreciate you. But I'm going to go over some of the polling. We actually did a polling of our students there at the summit because we wanted to assess what they're feeling, how they're doing, how can we better support them. And some of the responses and the data points are very disturbing. But I want to share because we want to have an honest conversation with you. We're not going to try to pretty this up or put a bow on it. So these were the questions. I'm just going to go through the numbers really quick for you. These aren't all the polling stats, but I think these are the ones that are more relevant for you to hear. And then I'm going to turn that over to Andrew Post to give his piece of presentation to share what CCSD is doing to address that. So the first one is, the question was, I have a positive self-image of how I view myself. And just to give you context, this was done on a big screen on a stage. Students had their phones, and so they electronically answered their question. So it was done very confidentially and in private. So we were trying to get them to feel comfortable in the environment to be able to share their truth. So the first is, I have a positive self-image of how I view myself. 9% were neutral, 17% agreed that they feel positive about themselves, 21% felt strongly. So we started off pretty good. Where do you primarily get information about how to take care of your mental health? And we were very disturbed because less than 3% of the students felt that they could get that information from school. In fact, we saw that 31% felt that they are getting their information for mental health from social media, which was a red light for us in that that's where predators live. And then we had 19% that said that they go to other students. And so about 50% or over 50% of our students actually seek help from social media and other students. That's pretty concerning. And that less than 3% feel they can get that support from school. I have safe spaces to share my feelings and emotions. Over 50% disagreed or were neutral in that answer. And then I think about my future and what my life will look like often. And I want to emphasize that word, often. And we had 31% agreed, 12% were neutral, and we have 56% strongly agreed. These kids, this is 87% agree and strongly agree that they think about their future often and what their life's going to be often. And 12% were neutral. That brings it to 99%. I feel that my race plays a role in how I see myself in the future. Almost 90% either agreed, strongly agreed, or were neutral. And that was 78% agreed and strongly agreed that race would have a role in that. I feel that young people who look like me are represented positively in the news and social media. 55% disagreed or strongly disagreed with that. And if we added the neutral in, it comes up to 87%. I know how to access mental health services in my school and community. And we saw 29% neutral, 24% disagree, 11% strongly disagree, and 27% agree. So one of the things that, I'm not going to get into discussion about this because one of the things that we could talk about after we have our next presenter present is we are in the process of working with Hazel Health on a peer-to-peer ambassador program where students on campus will actually be available to help students know where to go on campus, how to access that care. And so we're very excited about that. And then COVID. I know you all want to hear this one. And so with COVID pandemic, this was very, very shocking for us. The COVID pandemic has negatively impacted my mental health. We had 66% agree and strongly agree, 17% was neutral. So that is 84% feel that COVID has had a negative impact on their mental health. And then I feel that I am treated more negatively by society than other young people of different races. This is very disturbing too. We had 66% strongly agree and strongly agree, 26% neutral. That's 92% of our Black students. And then I'll leave you with this last stat before I turn this over, and that was I know someone who has experienced mental health issues. 95% of our Black students either strongly agreed or agreed with that statement. 95%. So that goes to say that the stat that we heard a little earlier in public comment from one of our counselors, that number is much higher when it comes to our African American students. And so with that, I'd like to now turn this presentation over to Mr. Andrew Post, who is no stranger to some of you, because Andrew Post has been attending with me many legislative sessions around funding for students to get this kind of help. We've been trying to get this for every student in Nevada for 6 years now. And so I'm just so happy to report that CCSD has stepped up using some of their ARP money to provide access to mental health for all students. And we are honored and privileged to have been able to work with them in Hazel Health to get this in place here in Clark County School District. And it's our hope that the rest of the state will follow so that we can truly say that in Nevada, every student has access to mental health. And this also will be physical health as well through telehealth protocol. And I'll let Andrew talk about what happens when additional supports are needed once telehealth has concluded their services. And with that, Andrew, would you please join us and put your presentation on, and then we'll take questions at the end. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Yvette, so much. And thank you, Chair Dennis and committee members. It is a pleasure to be back and to talk to you today. And Ms. Williams did a great job of unfortunately laying out what the real concerns are, and the public comments further exacerbated or showed where the problems are, right? Unfortunately, what we are seeing nationwide, what we are seeing in Nevada, is 3 to 7 month wait lists in more populated areas, as much as a year wait list for mental health services in the community-based settings. And unfortunately, particularly for schools, this is just not sustainable. And so while we talk a lot about what the concerns are, what I will present to you in a very abridged version is what some of the solutions can be. I want to be very clear, there is no silver bullet to this. Just because Hazel Health has figured out a great way to intervene and partner with school districts and families, it is not the only solution. It is not even the only viable solution, obviously. And it relies on a lot of partnerships and a lot of community-based collaboration. But it is important to understand that there are solutions that are readily available that can build some of that staffing capacity to be able to bring these wait times down substantially. So before I go through just a couple of highlights, the data that I'm going to give you is an aggregate of the school districts that we work in nationally, as to not call out just Clark County's data right now. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention how great a partner CCSD has been. They have been truly amazing in methodically and really thoughtfully rolling out these services to students. And so what we are seeing right now, which is very sad, but also very reassuring that we can support, is 1/2 of 1% to 1% of students referred to our mental health services within the first month of implementation. And so if you extrapolate that among the numbers in districts, particularly large urban districts, the pent-up demand for mental health is more apparent than ever. For Hazel Health specifically, which, as Ms. Williams alluded to, is a telehealth platform, we are making contact with families within 24 hours, even though we tell school district partners it will be 24 to 48 hours. That assessment is being scheduled on average less than 10 days, usually roughly now between 7 and 8 days from referral. And we have an 85% opt-in rate. So even in a environment where mental health is still stigmatized in many communities, we are seeing widespread consents and supports for students achieving these services. And so understanding we have a short amount of time, I'll only put 3 slides up. Hazel Health refers to our mental health services as our HEART protocol. That includes care coordination, as Ms. Williams alluded to, of really making sure that we are intertwined with the community-based providers. We are not a substitute for in-person ongoing wellness care, but we are able to supplement and be able to coordinate what that care looks like and help families to navigate a very complicated healthcare system to make sure that they have the care that they need for their children. This was built with sustainability in mind. So whether the school district funds it with one-time federal stimulus money, whether the state legislature decides to fund this statewide, the idea is that at some point, the ability to bill direct services to Medicaid, CHIP, commercial insurance is a sustainability model that can allow this to persist and not solely rely on public dollars in perpetuity. This service has to be able to serve regardless of insurance status, immigration, and language. And so one of the slides I will put up is how diverse our clinicians are and why that matters, particularly in the school districts that we partner with. Preventative and acute mental health care, so when the child is in crisis, but hopefully more often when they are not, and when there are early warning indicators of their need and the ability to be there early. From there, I will show you just the high-level components of how Hazel Health approaches mental health, which is to address a behavioral health assessment or mental health screener. This is not universal screening. This is a licensed clinician in front of students through the teletherapy modality, student assistance program or short-term therapy sessions. And again, when the child is going to need or the student is going to need ongoing care, to make sure that we are working with community-based partners to coordinate what that care looks like and stay with that family in a case management, family resource management capacity for another 6 months to ensure that no other social determinants of health or barriers are stopping that child from getting their services. And then support in crisis consultation. While we hope that it does not escalate to this, there is an obvious need in schools, as you've alluded to, in the staffing shortages of making sure that licensed clinicians can respond for risk assessments or de-escalation as needed. The last slide that I'll cover in the interest of time, as I alluded to, is just why it is so important to us at Hazel and to our school district partners that our clinicians represent the student population. And so 70% of our clinicians identify as people of color. They have 6+ years experience, and a vast majority of them, right now 40%, speak another language other than English fluently. And that is incredibly important to make sure that that 85% plus opt-in rate continues to stay there or go higher, because it is a reality that the more that we are able to reach the student, reach the family in a way that is most relatable, most comfortable for them, the better we will be at breaking down this very, very difficult, time in their lives to make sure that they feel supported. And so we are experiencing a wonderful, wonderful phased rollout with Clark County. We do have great presence in Lyon County with our physical health, which I will save for another time, but excited about what that means from a telehealth urgent care perspective and looking to do behavioral health with them as well, and hopefully at some point throughout the state of Nevada. Mm-hmm. So thank you all so much for your time today. And Ms. Williams?
Yes, I just wanted to wrap it up before we take questions, is that the Hazel Health has been able to build capacity, and they do have the ability to continue to build capacity. And I want to say that this is very affordable. Clark County School District is paying $2.5 million to provide services to every student. That is, I wish I could get on that kind of a healthcare plan. Oh. That is about $15 per student per year. $15 per student per year. If our state legislator cannot budget this after these ARP dollars, that's sad. And I can't imagine that that would be the case. So we wanted to make sure that we talked about what's going on with mental health, make sure that you understand what the costs may be, because coming up with this next legislative session in 23, you'll be addressing a budget that when you reconvene, the ARP money will be gone. And so we wanted to make sure as a caucus, this is our part of our, we see as a role, an important role in the community to kind of send up yellow lights and red lights that this is something we need to be planning for the future, so that we can continue to provide our students with the very best care so that they can achieve academically and become career and college ready and the future of Nevada. So for the entire state of Nevada, the cost as of today, I'm just going by today, for the entire state, it would run approximately $6 million to provide every student in the state of Nevada with access to mental health. And I can't tell you how big that is for families who are in a donut hole, who make too much for Medicaid and not enough to buy insurance. And all of this is no out-of-pocket expense to families. And I'll close with that. No out-of-pocket expense to families. So thank you so much, Mr. Post, for joining us today from Florida. We appreciate you and all your work and the fantastic rollout. I can't wait for the numbers to come out so that we can share that with our legislature, because they will be meeting for several months and I'm going to be excited to share that with them. So thank you again, and thank you committee members for your attention, and we can take any questions that you have.
Do we have anyone that has questions? Yeah, I see Vice Chair Dobratron and then Assemblywoman Hanson. I saw your hand.
Hi, and if I missed this, I apologize, but how are students accessing this? How are they aware of this? How are parents aware of this, that it exists?
That's a great question. Again, Andrew Post from Hazel Health, and thank you, Vice Chair. The answer is the vast majority of referrals for mental health services are coming from the school. So CCSD schools are identifying referrers in mostly their school counselors, social workers, and they are referring students who then receive a follow-up from our family resource managers. However, we are seeing parents refer their own children, as well as student self-referral is available for those of age of consent. And so we actually support the district rollouts with marketing materials and just awareness materials that we are there, what we do when it is appropriate to engage Hazel Health for these services.
And I'd like to ask with the student ambassador program that Hazel Health has agreed to do at our request, we will have a peer-to-peer on campuses as well, where they will be identified by a badge or something that says, ask me if you need access to mental health. And then that way the student can help them get to where they need to go to in the office or whatever information they may need. They're not going to be, of course, providing any service, but just to be there to help them access, since students tend to want that support from another student as opposed to an adult. And I also wanted to say that this program at CCSD has been rolled out only 3 weeks. And we are seeing phenomenal numbers already. I mean, this is going to be one of the greatest things we've done this year.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Hanson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Williams and Mr. Post, for being here. Certainly, we are all distressed at the mental health crisis that we see, I think, across the country. And especially affecting our youth. I'm just curious how we, in Nevada, we have Safe Voice through the Nevada Department of Education, which, at least my understanding, having served in the legislature since 2019, Safe Voice has provided some pretty great supports and has been a way for students to be protected either for themselves or to protect their schools or other students. And I noticed on their portal online that they have a lot of community partners in mental health that work through Safe Voice. So I'm just wondering if we have some of this? Is Safe Voice providing, and I know you can't answer that, maybe if we have any people from the Department of Education that are in the meeting or listening. Do we have some of these resources that are being used and they're not sufficient? Certainly this telehealth is very intriguing, and if it serves a need, that would be wonderful. I just am curious if we are not utilizing some things we already have in place?
I can answer that as best I can as an advocate. In my limited knowledge, I am very familiar. Actually worked with NDE in securing a federal grant to help build that program out a little more robustly. But because of the lack of professionals that we have in the state, students are having to wait, as Mr. Post mentioned, months to access the services that they need. And so this helps to fill that gap. And additionally, they work well hand in hand, and they should, because calls that come in through there, as you know, is information that goes out into the community to help support students. And so the hope is, because now we have Hazel Health also to provide telehealth, that will become another resource. Again, providing our students with the very best service that we can provide them to make sure that they get the help that they need when they need it. You know, as well as I do, if any of you have raised kids, they may have a crisis today. Now they've dealt with it in however way, or decided they're not going to deal with it, and then carry that baggage on with them. And then it resurfaces in a month later or 2 months later, or at school, or in all these crises and fights and all these other things that we're seeing right now. It's becoming very violent. And so we need to do everything that we can. And Hazel Health helps to fill that gap, much needed gap that we have in being able to provide the actual service. You know, it's one thing to say we've got this, we've got that to all feel good, but is it effective? Are we being effective? Are we changing kids' lives? Are we serving them well? And that's what we want to do. I hope I helped, and I'm sure our state superintendent, Ebert, is happy to provide more information on that.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, that helped. And whether we can answer it now, I'm just curious if we have a telehealth component within Safe Voice through those community partners. It'd be interesting to see if they do provide that. So if I can't get the answer now, perhaps offline I could get that answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm sure that the department is listening in and can get that response. I don't know if we have them on right now, but maybe at some point we can get that, or they can just get it to you.
And Senator Dennis, if you don't mind, Yvette Williams, Clark County Black Caucus, I just wanted to also say that it's an issue of capacity too. So even though we have providers here, it becomes an issue of capacity. And, you know, we just don't have, I don't think any states really have the capacity to provide, you know, those kinds of services. If they're already busy with in-person being able to provide physical service, I don't know how they're going to have the time to be able to provide telehealth also from, you know, 24 hours a day or 7 in the morning to 7 p.m., whatever time that you're going to do this, because kids can access this, the students can access this service, whether they're at home and have a crisis, whether they're walking from school and have a crisis, or at school or at home. So it's available to them wherever they are.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Chair Dennis, and thank you, Ms. Williams and Mr. Post, for this presentation and the information that you've shared with us today. I truly appreciate it that you're concerned for our students here in Nevada as far as their mental health is concerned. A couple of things that I jotted down because I was really concerned that are we putting the pressure on CCSD to provide our students the mental health needs that they so need? Are we putting that pressure, and are we eliminating the concern that perhaps parents need to know? It doesn't seem like to me, you know, just through this presentation, if I've gotten the linkage with how parents are being informed. You know, it's the student, it's the school. And there's a vital component there, meaning families, the parents, or guardians of that child, because we know that they are minors. And I would like to know how we are looping the parents, the families, the guardians into this process, because this is, you know, mental health might be expanded to the families. I don't know. I would love to see eventually the data and how we can effectively meet the needs of mental health, because mental health for children expands the families also.
Absolutely. Mr. Post, can you address that? That is addressed, Assemblywoman.
Yes, it's a wonderful question. And so the family, absent age of consent laws, which you have in Nevada as well, but the family, the caregiver or parent does consent to services. And so when the referral is made, the family resource manager's first outreach, again, so long as this is not a minor consent case, will reach out to the family or the parent or caregiver to consent to services before services are provided. To the former question on placing this on school districts, my background prior to this was also in large school districts, as Ms. Williams alluded to, albeit in Florida. And school counselors have always been the conduit for referring students who do need more clinical services to ascertain those as appropriate. And so this is an extension of that work, but ultimately the parent caregiver, again, always, unless an extenuating circumstance that would be lawful and understood, always goes through the parent or caregiver for consent to services. And also, I should say, Assemblywoman Thomas, it is not just individual sessions. There are family sessions available, which is part of the at-home piece. And so we do have a number of students who, as part of their treatment plan, are receiving family services in the evening time through the same modality, but at their homes and with their families, or with the child at school and the parent who can take a break for 10 or 15 minutes and be able to use a secure link to join the video conference from wherever they are while the student is at school.
And that's that's very important to our community, where we have folks who especially working in hospitality and can't take off. So they're able to schedule the appointment so that they are able on their lunch break or if they don't have transportation. We had one of our public comments today was someone who can't drive a car and has problems with transportation. So they would be able to join in that way as well.
Thank you. And follow-up, Chair, please.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. My follow-up question is the data. If I, misunderstood, please correct me. You said that this program is in its infancy of 3 weeks. When do you expect to have full data? Will it be 6 months from now, a year from now, that we can actually see numbers and the results?
It's a great question. So in Clark County, this has been 3 weeks, right about 4 weeks now. Nationally, it has gone on longer. And so we can certainly provide aggregate data across all. We can either silo large urban school districts or all school districts on our mental health platform. The question specific to CCSD is that we will work with them to provide a mid-year, if you will, report. I know it's mid-school year already, but relative to the implementation timeline, and an end of school year report, and then on a semester cadence after that for both access and clinical outcome metrics. And so once shared with CCSD, would obviously love the opportunity to share that more broadly.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Wonderful questions.
Thank you. And are there any other questions from Committee members? Going through my gallery, I'm not seeing any. All right, well, thank you very much, both of you, for that presentation and for answering the questions. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having us today. Have a good meeting.
Thank you. Okay, and it looks like Chair Dennis is back.
Thank you. And thank you for that presentation. It was wonderful. We do have.
Okay, I'm stopping the share. And I just got to say this. I'm confused as to why third-party providers are trying to provide information in regards to what CCSD is doing. That's the issue. We don't know what CCSD is doing. Of course, the harbor is strong, and so is the haven. And here in Nevada, they were told that they're not going to accept their plan, their state plan, not being accepted, not compliant. Let's understand what not compliant means. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to stop recording for a minute so I can go find some more wonderful information to share.
And responsible father. Youth Services. Assessing early childhood teachers' use of child progress monitoring to individualize teaching practices. 2012 to 2016. This contract supported the development of a literature review, conceptual model, and tool designed to measure teachers' use of child assessments for individualizing instruction to support optimal development in early childhood settings. The literature review summarized the research on child assessment and individualized instruction and includes a conceptual model as a means of articulating the theoretical relations between key constructs underlying the process. A measurement plan derived from the literature review outlined key constructs, defined relevant terms and mechanisms, and proposed options for measurement that would be feasible in a variety of early childhood contexts. As a result of this work, as well as 2 iterative rounds of pre-testing, the Examining Data Informing Teaching, edit, measure was developed. The contract was awarded to Mathematica Policy Research. The points of contact are Laura Horton, Nina Phillips, and Hetzner. Related resources. Skip tab navigation. Research. Developing a tool to examine teachers' use of ongoing child assessment to individualize instruction. January 12, 2017. Expand. This report and brief describe the iterative development of the draft Examining Data Informing Teaching, edit, measure. The information in this report can serve as a resource for researchers and future users of the edit measure. EDIT assists researchers in understanding how teachers conduct ongoing assessments for individualizing instruction. What does it mean to use ongoing assessment to individualize instruction in early childhood? June 30, 2015. Expand. This brief provides a conceptual framework for how practitioners can use ongoing child assessment for individualization of instruction in early care and education classrooms and highlights the Examining Data Informing Teaching, edit, measure. The conceptual framework focuses on curriculum-embedded approaches to ongoing assessment and reflects a repeating cycle with 4 stages. What do we know about how early childhood teachers use ongoing assessment? June 30, 2015. Expand. Ongoing child assessment involves repeated assessments and observations of a child's performance and progress over time. This brief summarizes findings from a literature review on ongoing assessment and individualizing instruction in early childhood, including what we currently know about how early childhood teachers use assessment, what we still need to learn, and recommended practices. Tailored teaching, the need for stronger evidence about early childhood teachers' use of ongoing assessment to individualize instruction. June 30, 2015. Expand. This brief summarizes an extensive review of literature on ongoing assessment in early care and education settings, clarifies the remaining gaps in the existing literature, and highlights the Examining Data Informing Teaching, edit, measure. Tailored teaching, teachers' use of ongoing child assessment to individualize instruction. July 7, 2014. Expand. This 2-volume report documents the work of the Assessing Early Childhood Teachers' Use of Child Progress Monitoring to Individualize Teaching Practices project. The purpose of the project is to 1. Develop a conceptual framework of how early childhood teachers use ongoing assessment to individualize instruction, and 2. Create a measure to document and examine this process. The tool, called the Tool for Tailored Teaching, T3, will be a multi-method measure that will show how developing a tool to examine teachers' use of ongoing child assessment to individualize instruction. Publication date, January 12, 2017. Introduction. Expand. This report and brief describe the iterative development of the draft examining data informing teaching, edit, measure. The information in this report can serve as a resource for researchers and future users of the edit measure. EDIT assists researchers in understanding how teachers conduct ongoing assessments for individualizing instruction. The measure focuses on the processes teachers use for 1. Planning what information to collect and how to do so. 2. Collecting valid data. 3. Organizing and interpreting the data, and 4. Using the data collected to inform instruction and future assessment. We conducted 2 rounds of pre-testing, each with teachers in 9 classrooms, which allowed for revisions of the data collection and administration procedures. Updated in December 2016, this report now includes information about the second round of pre-testing. It also provides a detailed description of the draft measure, explains how to administer the instrument, describes the measurement development process, outlines the pre-test activities, presents lessons learned from the pre-test, and describes next steps for further development and future uses of the edit. Files. PDF. Developing a tool to examine teachers' use of ongoing child assessment to individualize instruction. Full report PDF, 4137.26 KB. PDF. Developing a tool to examine teachers' use of ongoing child assessment to individualize instruction. Brief PDF, 441.70 KB. OPER Research Topics. Head Start and Early Head Start. Types. Report Research. Projects. Assessing early childhood teachers' use of child progress monitoring to individualize teaching practices. Topics. Early childhood, Head Start. Tags. Child development, education, evidence-based approaches, grants, research. Current as of April 29, 2019. Directly related research. What does it mean to use ongoing assessment to individualize instruction in early childhood? June 30, 2015. What do we know about how early childhood teachers use ongoing assessment? June 30, 2015. Tailored teaching, the need for stronger evidence about early childhood teachers' use of ongoing assessment to individualize instruction.
Okay. It's going to take a minute. Let's see.
Developing a tool to examine teachers' use of ongoing child assessment to individualize instruction. OPRE Report Number 2016-103, updated November 2016. This page has been left blank for double-sided copying. Developing a tool to examine teachers' use of ongoing child assessment to individualize instruction. OPRE Report Number 2016-103, updated November 2016. Shannon Monahan, Sally Atkins Burnett, Barbara A. Wassick, Lauren Akers, Felicia Hurwitz, and Judith Carter. Submitted to Laura Horde and Nina Phillipson-Hetzner, Project Officers, Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation, Administration for Children and Families, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, 370 L'Enfant Promenade, SW, Washington, District of Columbia 20447, http://www.acf.hhs.gov/OPRE/research/project/early-childhood-teachers-use-of-monitoring- to individualized contract number HHSP23320095642WC, HHSP233370441T, Mathematica reference number 40,158, submitted by Shannon Monahan, Project Director, Mathematica Policy Research, P.O. Box 2393, Princeton, New Jersey, 08543-2393, telephone 609-799-3535, facsimile 609-799-0005. This report is in the public domain. Permission to reproduce is not necessary. Suggested citation, Monahan, S.S., Atkins Burnett, B.A. Wassick, L. Akers, F. Hurwitz, and J. Carga. Developing a tool to examine teachers' use of ongoing child assessment to individualize instruction. Washington, D.C., U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation, 2016. Disclaimer: the views expressed in this publication do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of the Office of Planning, Research and Evaluation, the Administration for Children and Families, or the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This page has been left blank for double-sided copying. Acknowledgements: the authors wish to thank Laura Horde and Jennifer Brooks, our federal project officers at the Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation, OPRE, as well as OPRE Society for Research and Child Development Fellows Nina Phillipson-Hetzner, Sangeeta Parikshak, and Kelly Fisher, for their oversight, guidance, and vision. We are also grateful for the ongoing input of Amanda Bryans from the Office of Head Start. Other staff members from the Office of Head Start and OPRE provided us with valuable feedback about the needs of the National Head Start program and the research community. In addition, we were fortunate to have the expertise of our expert panel members, see page V, whose guidance on the topic of ongoing assessment and individualization and insights on the measure were vital. We are very grateful to the providers who allowed us into their settings and met with us as we developed and refined the measure. We learned a great deal from these experiences. Finally, we gratefully acknowledge our colleagues at Mathematica Policy Research who contributed their time, effort, and expertise to this project. These staff include Kimberly Baller, Susan Sprockman, Emily Moyduden, and Nikki Eakins, who provided thoughtful quality assurance, Grace Lim and Cara Conroy, who attended site visits, Patricia Chacchio and Donovan Griffin provided editorial support, Laura Sarnowski and Bridget Trent designed the figures in the report, Jill Miller and Dorothy Bello formatted this report. While acknowledging the contributions of these individuals, the authors take responsibility for any errors or omissions that remain. The views expressed in this report do not necessarily reflect those of the Administration for Children and Families, ACF, or the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This page has been left blank for double-sided copying. Expert panel members: we would like to thank the following members of our expert panel for their assistance with this project. The views expressed in this publication do not necessarily reflect the views of these members. Stephen Benyatto, University of Pittsburgh, Linda Broyle, Southeast Kansas Community Action Program, Virginia Bites American Institutes for Research, Len Fuchs, Vanderbilt University, Leslie Neighbors, Ola, combining acute accent, H educational testing service, Sheila Smith, Columbia University, Patricia Snyder, University of Florida, VA. This page has been left blank for double-sided copying. Contents acknowledgements, V expert panel members, VA overview, X3 executive summary, ZUVI introduction, 1A justification for the measure, 1B literature review, 2C conceptual model that informs the edit, 5. 1. Stage 1, selecting the target and assessment method, 6. 2. Stage 2, implementing ongoing assessment, 6. 3. Stage 3, interpreting data and formulating instructional decisions, 7. 4. Stage 4, applying instructional decisions and individualizing, 7D contextual, teacher, and family factors affecting most stages, 7E measurement model for the edit, 8F roadmap for the report, 9-2 the examining data informing teaching, edit, measure, instrument and administration, 11E rationale for a multi-method measure focusing on 2 domains, 11. 1. The need for a multi-method approach, 11. 2. Measurement issues during the development phase, 13. 3. Initially targeting 2 domains, 14B overview of the 3 methods, 15. 1. Document review, 16. 2. Video-based classroom observations, 17. 3. Teacher interview, 17C summary of the measure, 18. 1. Number and types of items, 18D administration procedures, 37. 1. Step 1, selecting focal children, 37. 2. Step 2, teacher activities before the rater's visit, 37. 3. Step 3, edit rater as visit, 38. Contents Mathematica Policy Research 3, the measurement development process, 41A recruitment, 41B pretest timeline and data collection procedures, 42. 1. Recruitment and consent, 42. 2. Selecting focal children, 44. 3. Teacher activities before the rater's visit, 44. 4. Rater's visit, 47. 5. Self-administered questionnaire, 47. 6. Teacher debrief, 47C refining the instrument and its procedures, 47 IV pretest, 49A sample, who participated in the pretest, 49. 1. Teachers, 49. 2. Communication with families, 50. 3. Classroom assessment systems, 50B. How well does the edit capture a range of quality and practices in pretest classrooms implementing ongoing assessment and individualizing? 51. 1. Items with high mean scores, 52. 2. Evidence of a need for additions or changes to the measure, 53V. Lessons learned from the pretest, 58A. Teacher debrief information, how did teachers feel about participation? 59B. What were challenges and changes to edit procedures? 60. 1. Selection of focal children, 60. 2. Describing and accessing documentation, 61. 3. Time period for documentation, 62. 4. Focus of video recording, 63C. What are the implications of the pretest for the recommendations of future procedures? 63D. What were the contributions of different data sources? 64E. How did the edit items and interview protocol change during the pretest? 65. 1. Items with limited variation, 66. 2. Identified need to increase the edit's measurement of teachers' planning and evaluation of progress, 68. 3. Use of don't know ratings, 72. 4. Edit instrument conventions, 72X. Contents Mathematica Policy Research. 5. Interview Protocol, 72. 6. Training Materials, 73. 7. Summary, 73. By Next Steps and the Future of the Edit, 75. The Recommended Next Steps for Further Work, 75. 1. Challenges to Future Work, 77. 2. Sample Size, 77. 3. Recommended Procedures for Pilot Test, 81. 4. Validity Evidence, 82b. Potential Future Uses, 84. 1. Research, 85. 2. Professional Development, 85. 3. Examining and informing how programs support teachers in conducting and using assessment data, 85. References, 87. Appendices. Appendix A, Edit Interview Protocol. Appendix B, Teacher Self-Administered Questionnaire, SAQ. Appendix 100, Letter to Teachers. Appendix 500, Training Plan. Appendix E, Training Definitions and Examples. Appendix F, Sample Training Agenda. Appendix G, Additional Methods Considered. G. Tables I.1, Designs of the Studies Identified by the Literature Review, 3II.1, Number and Types of Items, by Conceptual Model Stage, 20II.2, Proposed Schedule for Site Visit, 39.3.1, Outlines of Data Collection for the Pretest, 41.3.2, Depiction of Differences in Pretest Data Collection, by Round, 43.3.3, Consent Collection During Pretest, 44IV.1, 2 Ongoing Assessment Systems, 51V.1, Estimated Burden on Teachers, 59V.2, Examples of Changes Made to Procedures, 60V.3, Changes for Items with Limited or No Variation, 68V.4, Revisions made to the edit to increase measurement of teachers' intentionality, 70V.5, Additional edit items, 71Vi.1, Sampling selection criteria options, 79Vi.2, Commonly used ongoing assessments as reported in the 2014-2015 Program Information Report, 81Vi.3, Advantages and disadvantages of constructs considered for validating the edit, 83 Exhibits II.1, Examples of documentation, 16II.2, Definitions of edit item types, 19IV.1, Study team reflections on some pretest teachers' use of assessment, 56 Figures I.1, Conceptual model for curriculum embedded approaches, 6II.1, Multi-method measure model, 16II.2, Edit procedures, 37II.3, Method for the focus and frequency of video recordings, 38II.4, Use of data sources to assign scores, 43.1, Alternative methods for the focus and frequency of video recordings, 46 CI. Overview. In 2012, the Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation at the Administration for Children and Families, ACF, engaged Mathematica Policy Research and its partners to conduct a project titled, Assessing Early Childhood Teachers' Use of Child Progress Monitoring to Individualize Teaching Practices. This report describes the iterative development of the Examining Data Informing Teaching edit measure. The edit is specifically designed to help researchers understand how teachers conduct ongoing assessments for individualization and use those assessments to guide instruction. The measure focuses on the processes the teacher uses for 1. Planning what information to collect and how to do so, 2. Collecting valid data, 3. Organizing and interpreting the data, and 4. Using the data collected to inform both overall and individualized instruction. The edit uses a multi-method approach in gathering evidence with checklists, ratings, and rubrics. Edit raters review assessment and instructional planning documents, as well as video recordings of assessments and instruction. Raters also conduct a 1-hour individual teacher interview. Teachers in 18 classrooms were selected to participate in the pretest. Supervisors or research partners nominated teachers who collected and used ongoing assessment information regularly. During the first 9 visits, there was limited variability in edit ratings, with teachers and classrooms receiving high ratings on many of the initial edit items. After revising some edit items, we found greater diversity in the teacher ratings during our next 9 visits. We found evidence of high scores on some general assessment practices. For example, teachers regularly documented information about children objectively and collected the documentation during meaningful and authentic classroom activities. Because only 18 teachers were in the pre-test, it is not clear how prevalent these behaviors might be among other early childhood teachers. It does suggest that these will be among the easiest items for teachers to receive a high rating on the edit. We also identified edit items for which teachers generally received lower ratings. Those items allowed us to examine variability in the lower and middle ends of the rubrics, but did not allow us to examine the high end of the rubrics. In addition, we made some observations that suggested we were not measuring some constructs well in the early versions of the edit. This was particularly true for constructs related to how intentionally teachers gathered and used assessment for monitoring progress and selecting instructional strategies. We revised the edit to improve our coverage of these constructs by adding additional criteria to our items after our first 9 visits. With the more nuanced criteria, there was more variability, with some teachers exhibiting the behaviors at the high end of the rubrics in our next 9 visits. Throughout the pre-test, we revised our data collection procedures to ensure that we were able to capture the variation in teacher practice and validly represent how teachers use assessment. We changed the order of the questions and added prompts in the teacher interview to better elicit evidence of teachers' planning and evaluation of progress. We refined the wording on the rubrics to clarify and specify concepts, added indicators to better capture levels of teachers' intentional planning and evaluation of progress, and added conventions to the instrument, such as not applicable responses. To test the psychometric properties of the revised version, we recommend visiting additional classrooms with a wider range of assessment practices, including greater diversity in teacher skill and in the type of assessment system used. After additional testing and adaptation, the edit measure could be used to identify beneficial practices for collecting and using ongoing assessment data to individualize instruction. In addition to its use as a research tool, with additional testing and adaptation, the edit shows promise as a management tool, supporting the use of ongoing assessment for individualization. X3. Executive Summary. In 2012, the Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation at the Administration for Children and Families, ACF, engaged Mathematica Policy Research and its partners to conduct a project titled Assessing Early Childhood Teachers' Use of Child Progress Monitoring to Individualize Teaching Practices. The purpose of the project was twofold. 1. To develop a research-informed conceptual model for early childhood teachers' use of ongoing assessment to individualize instruction, and 2. To create a measure to examine this process. Prior reports describe in detail the results of a literature review, conceptual framework, and measurement plan, Akers et al. 2014, Atkins-Burnett et al. 2014. This report describes the iterative development of the examining data informing teaching, edit measure.1. This report includes the results of a pre-test study in 18 classrooms and a proposal for next steps for the edit. The edit is designed to examine how a teacher conducts ongoing assessments for individualization and uses those assessments to guide instruction. The focus is on the processes the teacher uses for 1. Planning what information to collect and how to do so, 2. Collecting valid data, 3. Organizing and interpreting the data, and 4. Using the data collected to inform both overall and individualized instruction. The edit uses a multi-method approach where the rater gathers evidence with checklists, ratings, and rubrics that describe how the teacher collects and uses assessment. Edit raters review assessment and instructional planning documents, as well as video recordings of assessments and instruction. Raters also conduct a 1-hour individual teacher interview to probe for additional explanations about the documents and observations, as well as to obtain information on the teacher's planning and implementation of instructional adaptations, modifications, and individualized teaching strategies. The study involved 6 rounds of iterative pre-testing for the edit measure. After each round, in consultation with ACF, the edit study team met and discussed challenges that arose and proposed changes to improve the procedures and edit items to obtain more precise measurement. We then incorporated recommended changes and repeated the data collection and review process in the next set of classrooms as we iteratively refined the edit. Several times during the pre-test, we shared the edit with the project's expert panel and incorporated their feedback. Teachers in 18 classrooms were purposefully selected to participate in the pre-test. Supervisors or research partners nominated teachers who collected and used ongoing assessment information regularly. Of the 18 teachers, 14 had at least a bachelor's degree, and 8 of those teachers also had master's degrees. The teachers in our pre-test had early childhood teaching experience that ranged from 2 to 32 years. 10 of the 18 classrooms used Teaching Strategies Gold, TS Gold, Teaching Strategies, Incorporated 2011. 6 classrooms used the Work Sampling System, WSS, Mizell et al., 2001. 1 classroom used Tools of the Mind, Bodrova and Leung, 2007. 1 classroom used a school developed system for ongoing assessment. The teachers had at least some training, and most had coaches or mentors to support the use of these assessment systems. 1. The edit was formally called the Tool for Tailored Teaching, T3. ZIV. Executive Summary: Mathematica Policy Research teachers in the pre-test sample consistently received high scores on several edit items. We found evidence of some high-quality general assessment practices that suggest it is relatively easy for teachers to score highly with certain types of items. For example, teachers regularly documented information about children objectively, and they collected the documentation during meaningful activities. 2. For some teachers, the electronic ongoing assessment systems, for example, TS Gold, provided structured output that organized the data to make interpretation easier. Most teachers plan individualized lessons, using curricular materials aligned with the objectives that they assessed. During the first half of the pre-test, these types of practices were indicative of the behavioral descriptions anchoring the high end of items and did not offer the opportunity to evaluate how well the rubrics worked for the middle of the scale to its lower end. We revised edit items for the second half of the pre-test by adding measurement of intentionality and increased the criteria at the higher ends of the rating scales. These revised items resulted in greater variation in scores. During the first half of the pre-test, we identified some items that allowed us to examine the lower end and the middle of the rubrics, but did not allow us to examine the high end of the rubric. For example, planning for assessments, collecting more than one piece of evidence for ratings. In addition, we made some observations that suggested we were not measuring some constructs well on the early versions of the edit. This was particularly true for constructs related to how intentionally teachers gathered and used assessment for monitoring progress and selecting
Okay, so I just want you to understand that there is so much more to education than what they're doing here in Nevada. And, you know, what's really happening here is that they're not providing services to these children. And that's just real. And so just collection of developmental lack of milestones, whatever we want to call it, makes a difference. I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to pause the recording. Okay. We're going to have to understand that there should be some milestones that we all should monitor for state intervention. Let's just select all of this text and let's just start reading because, you know, we all got to follow this.
Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns Module 1, Your Important Role in Monitoring Children's Development Learning Objectives. 1. Why monitoring children's development and identifying developmental concerns early are important. 2. Why early care and education providers have a unique and important role in developmental monitoring. 3. How developmental monitoring can be easy with support from CDCs. Learn the signs. Act early. Checklists and resources. Learning Objective 1. Why monitoring children's development and identifying developmental concerns early are important. The most important reason for monitoring each child's development is to find out if a child's development is on track. It is important to act early if there are signs of potential development delay because early treatment is so important for improving a child's skills and abilities. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Developmental disabilities are surprisingly common. If you have not already had a child in your care with a developmental delay or disability, chances are you will. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that about 1 in 6 children has a developmental disability. Children with developmental problems are at increased risk for poor outcomes in many areas important to health, well-being, and success in life. Developmental disorders increase a child's risk for poor school performance, frequent absences from school, and repeating a grade, as well as for having more health problems. Most children with developmental delays are not identified early enough for them to benefit from early intervention services. You can help change that. Although about 1 in 6 children has a developmental disability, less than half of these children are identified as having a problem before starting school. This is a problem that you can help solve. Too often, adults don't recognize the signs of a potential developmental disability. They are not sure if their concern is warranted, or they don't have resources to help make their concern easier to talk about. But pinpointing concerns and talking about them is very important to getting a child the help he or she might need. Early treatment is important because early treatment can make a big difference in a child's ability to learn new skills. It is very important for children with developmental disabilities. E3. Speech therapy, physical therapy, and other services are available in every state for free or at low cost to parents. However, if a developmental concern is not identified early, parents can't take advantage of these services. I. Boyle C.A., Booklet S., Sheaf L.A., et al. Trends in the Prevalence of Developmental Disabilities in U.S. Children, 1997-2008. Pediatrics 2011, 127, 1034-42. 2 Lord, C., and McGee, J.P. eds. 2001. Educating Children with Autism. Washington, D.C. National Academy Press. 3 Dawson, G. 2008. Rely Behavioral Intervention, Brain Plasticity, and the Prevention of Autism Spectrum Disorder. Developmental Psychopathology, 20, 775-803. Watch Me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns. Authorized by law, early treatment, known as intervention, is available in every state and territory of the United States. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, requires it. Part 100 of IDEA serves children under the age of 3, and Part B serves children ages 3 to 22. That's why you'll sometimes hear early intervention for very young children referred to as Part 100, or for school-age children, Part B. It's important to understand the difference between developmental monitoring and developmental screening. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Have you ever stopped to think just how important your role is in the lives of these young children? The first years of life are so important for a child's development. Early experiences make a difference in how young children's brains develop and can influence lifelong learning and health. You spend a great deal of time with young children and are instrumental in determining many of the kinds of experiences they will have. Developmental monitoring means observing and noting specific ways a child plays, learns, speaks, acts, and moves every day, in an ongoing way. Developmental monitoring often involves tracking a child's development using a checklist of developmental milestones. You are in a unique position to monitor the development of each child in your care. You may be the first one to observe potential delays in a child's development. Working with groups of same-age children can help you recognize children who reach milestones early and late. Working with children of different ages can help you notice if a child's skills are more similar to those of a younger or older child than to those of his or her same-age peers. Because you spend your day teaching, playing with, and watching children, you may find yourself at times concerned that a child in your care is not reaching milestones that other children his or her age have, or you may have families ask you if you are concerned about their child's development. Developmental screening is a more formal process that uses a validated screening tool at specific ages to determine if a child's development is on track or whether he or she needs to be referred for further evaluation. Both developmental monitoring and developmental screening should be done for all young children. However, this course focuses on the easy and important practice of developmental monitoring. If you already conduct developmental screening in your program, you will find out ways to encourage families to monitor their child's development and how to communicate with families about the development of children in your care. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns Learning Objective 2. Why early care and education providers have a unique and important role in developmental monitoring in caring for and teaching children. You are in a perfect position to see how they play, learn, speak, act, and move alongside others of their age. 12.5 million children under the age of 5 in the United States are in some type of child care IV. As large numbers of busy parents go off to work, you are on the front lines of watching how children grow and develop. IV Census Bureau Survey of Income. Linda Laughlin. Who's Minding the Kids? Child care arrangements. Spring 2011. Household Economic Studies. U.S. Department of Commerce. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns. Watch the difference you can make. One Mom's Story, https://youtu.be/3jutgsvtrjq. You are a trusted partner and valuable resource to parents. Parents look to you for information on how their child is developing, because you often have good observations about their child's strengths and needs. Many parents may not have the chance to see their child with other children of the same age and may not have experience with any child other than their own. When that's the case, you can be their measuring stick. Even when parents have their own milestone tracking checklist, they may not fully understand what each milestone looks like. You can help by pointing out or describing them. For example, today when I was reading to Johnny, he pointed to show me the pictures in the book. I was happy to see that developmental milestone at 18 months. I'll bet you're seeing him do that, too. In addition, because you have this special relationship with parents, they may feel more comfortable talking to you if they have concerns about their children's development. You can provide support to them and their child by helping them think through what they need to do and whom to talk to. You may already be required to monitor and screen children's development if you work in the child care center. Make sure you know and understand your center's policies on developmental monitoring, screening, and communicating with families. Understanding the important role you play, what is required of you, and being equipped with appropriate tools will help you feel more confident in these processes. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns. You may be required to use a developmental checklist, specific tool for screening, or a curriculum that addresses specific learning behaviors and goals. If required, talk to your supervisor or administrator before beginning to use any new tools. It's important to keep in mind that it is never your role to make or suggest a diagnosis for any child. Your role is to 1. Look for and note each child's developmental milestones. 2. Share what you've seen with parents. 3. Encourage parents to talk to their child's doctor if you're where they have a concern. Learning Objective 3. How developmental monitoring can be easy with support from CDCs. Learn the signs. Act early. Checklists and resources. You observe children's development every day and how they play, learn, speak, act, and move. You will find that it is easy and quick to monitor and record what you see if you have the right tools. Monitoring each child's development is easy with the right tools and resources. If you're not already tracking each child's development, it's easy to get started by using checklists of developmental milestones for each child's age like those offered by CDC's Learn the Signs, Act Early program. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns, you can get a good idea of whether a child's development is on track. If you have a concern about a child's development, using these easy tools can help you feel more confident about what you observe. It will also give you an objective tool to use when talking with parents. Using checklists of developmental milestones can confirm for you that a child seems to be developing as expected. When that happens, you can use the checklist to continue to observe and monitor the child's development and encourage the family to do the same. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, offers free, easy-to-use tools to help you look for and track developmental milestones. CDC's milestone checklists are easy to use and are based on milestones developed by the American Academy of Pediatrics. They are reliable and convenient tools for monitoring children's development. Module 2 talks more about developmental milestones. Module 3 explains the checklists and how to use them, along with other resources for you. Module 4 gives insight on talking with parents about development. Access free CDC materials. www.cdc.gov/ncpddb/actarly/free-materials.html. Key points. The most important reason for monitoring each child's development is to determine if his or her development is on track. Most children with developmental delays are not identified early enough to benefit from early intervention. Early intervention can make a big difference in a child's development and ability to learn new skills. If you monitor the development of each child in your care, you can help identify children early who may need early intervention. Developmental monitoring and developmental screening are not the same thing. It's important to understand the difference. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. You are in a perfect position to see and track how all children in your care play, learn, speak, act and move alongside others of their age. It is never your role to make or suggest a diagnosis for any child. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, offers free, easy-to-use, and interactive tools to help you look for and track developmental milestones. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Module 1 quiz. 1. Tracking children's development in your care is important for the following reasons. A. To find out if a child's development is on track. B. To find out if a child might have a developmental delay. C. Both. 2. About how many children in the U.S. have developmental disabilities. A. 1 in 17. B. 1 in 6. C. 1 in 50. 3. You are in a perfect position to monitor children's development in your care because, check all that apply, you spend a lot of time playing and interacting with children. Parents see you as a trusted partner. Parents may ask you about their child's development. You are in a position to make a diagnosis about a child's development. 4. Monitoring children's development includes which of the following? A. Observing children's milestones. B. Using the Developmental Milestone Checklist or Developmental Screening tool. C. Sharing observations with parents and encouraging them to take action if concerned. D. All the above. 5. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has free and useful tools to help you monitor children's development. A. True. B. False. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Module 1 quiz answers. 1. Tracking children's development in your care is important for the following reasons. A. To find out if a child's development is on track. B. To find out if a child might have a developmental delay. C. Both. 2. About how many children in the U.S. have developmental disabilities. A. 1 in 17. B. 1 in 6. C. 1 in 50. 3. You are in a perfect position to monitor children's development in your care because, Check all that apply. You spend a lot of time playing and interacting with children. Parents see you as a trusted partner. Parents may ask you about their child's development. You are in a position to make a diagnosis about a child's development. 4. Monitoring children's development includes which of the following? A. Observing children's milestones. B. Using the Developmental Milestone Checklist or Developmental Screening tool. C. Sharing observations with parents and encouraging them to take action if concerned. D. All the above. 5. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has free and useful tools to help you monitor children's development. A. True. B. False. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns. Module 2, Understanding Children's Developmental Milestones. Learning Objectives. 1. Why understanding developmental. 2. How to recognize developmental milestones is important. Milestones. Learning Objective 1. Why understanding developmental milestones is important. The best way to monitor children's development is to track their developmental milestones. What are developmental milestones? Developmental milestones are things most children can do by a certain age. Skills such as taking a first step, smiling for the first time, and waving bye-bye are called developmental milestones. Children reach milestones in how they play, learn, speak, act, and move. You see children reach milestones every day. Though all children develop at their own pace, most children reach developmental milestones at or about the same age. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Importance of tracking milestones. Miss Carolyn discusses the importance of tracking developmental milestones. When I first started teaching, I thought I knew all about developmental milestones. I knew they were the different things children were supposed to do at particular ages, like walk, crawl, and talk. I thought I knew them all, but I really only knew a few, and I'm not sure I even had those at the right ages. Anyway, it really helped me understand milestones better since I learned the phrase play, learn, speak, act, and move. Now I use milestone checklists to keep up with each child's progress, but I'll tell you more about that later. As I watch my little ones, I ask myself if they are all pretty similar in their ability to play, learn, speak, act, and move. If anything or anyone stands out, I pay special attention. I also use the checklist to think about what kinds of things my little ones should be doing next. For example, if a child in my classroom is 9 months old and is pointing at things, then I can look on my 12-month checklist and expect that soon she will be using simple gestures like shaking her head for no or waving bye-bye. I share this information with families so they'll know what to look for next. 2. Developmental milestones offer important clues about a child's developmental health. Reaching milestones at the typical ages shows a child is developing as expected. Reaching milestones much earlier means a child may be advanced compared with his or her peers of the same age. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Not reaching milestones or reaching them much later than children the same age can be the earliest indication that a child may have a developmental delay. Some milestones are especially important. Not reaching those by a certain age is a developmental warning sign or red flag. Examples given in Learning Objective 2. Children who don't reach milestones may need extra support and services to reach their full potential. Keep in mind that developmental progress is not always steady. You may see changes in development around important life events like the birth of a new sibling. By tracking each child's developmental milestones over time, you will have a better understanding of his or her development and a better basis to judge if concern is warranted. Social emotional. This domain is about how children interact with others and show emotion. Smiling spontaneously, cooperating with others, showing affection for friends, especially at people, children, without prompting, also pointing to show an airplane flying overhead, crying when mom or dad leaves, and imitating other children. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns language communication. This domain is about how children express their needs and share what they are thinking, as well as understand what is said to them. Cooing, babbling, pointing to show others what, singing a song from memory she wants, such as the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Also, following directions and speaking so others understand what they're saying. Cognitive, learning, thinking, problem solving. This domain is about how children learn new things and solve problems. It includes how children explore their environment to figure things out, whether by looking at the world around them, putting objects in their mouths, or dropping something to watch it fall. This domain also includes academic skills like counting and learning letters and numbers, reaching for a toy with one, exploring things in different building towers of at least 4 hand ways, like shaking, banging, blocks throwing, also, an infant staring at mom's face as she leans over his crib. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns movement physical development. This domain is about how children use their bodies. It includes many milestones parents excitedly wait for. Crawling, catching a bounced ball, most eating with a spoon of the time. Some developmental milestones fit more than one domain. For example, playing make-believe can be a social-emotional milestone as well as a cognitive milestone. Following instructions can be a language communication milestone as well as a cognitive milestone. And playing peekaboo can be a cognitive as well as a social-emotional milestone. The most important reason for monitoring each child's development is to determine whether a child's development is on track. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns looking for developmental milestones is important to understanding each child's development and behavior. Milestones can help explain a child's behavior. For example, if a 1-year-old cries when her dad leaves the classroom in the morning, she is showing a typical 12-month milestone that signifies healthy development. Watch Miss Carolyn talks about spotting milestones like dumping and sorting. https://youtu.be/ggbvmnfoq Learning Objective 2 How to recognize developmental milestones in your work caring for and teaching children. You are in a perfect position to observe the developmental milestones that mark how children play, learn, speak, act, and move alongside others of their age. Below are some examples of developmental milestones and especially important warning signs of possible developmental delay for 6, 9, 12, 18, 24 and 36 months of age. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Keep in mind, these are only a few examples for each age. More complete lists and lists for other ages, 2 months, 5 years, can be found at www.cdc.gov/milestones. Milestones at 6 months. Social emotional, responds to other people's emotions and often seems happy. Language communication, begins to say consonant sounds, jabbering with M, B. Cognitive, begins to pass things from one hand to the other. Movement physical, begins to sit without support. Watch 6-month milestone. https://youtu.be/pqks9fg5lc0. Warning signs of possible developmental delay. Doesn't laugh or make squealing sounds. Doesn't make vowel sounds. Ah, a, oh. Doesn't try to get things that are in reach. Doesn't roll over in either direction. Milestones at 9 months. Social emotional, clingy with familiar adults. Has favored toy. Language communication, copies gestures, makes a lot of different sounds like mama and baba. Cognitive, plays peekaboo. Movement physical, pulls to stand, crawls. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Watch 9-month milestone. https://youtu.be/kinbopieco0. Warning signs of possible developmental delay. Doesn't babble. Doesn't respond to own name. Doesn't look where you point. Doesn't seem to recognize familiar people. Milestones at 12 months. Social emotional, repeats sounds or actions to get attention. is shy or nervous with strangers. Language communication, says mama and dada, makes sounds with changes in tone. Cognitive, follows simple directions. Movement physical, may stand alone. Watch 12-month milestone, https://youtu.be/ymgohkm. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Warning signs of possible developmental delay, doesn't point to things, doesn't learn gestures like waving, doesn't say single words, loses skills he once had. Milestones at 18 months. Social emotional, plays simple pretend, explores with parent nearby. Language communication, points to things in a book, says several single words. Cognitive, know how ordinary things are used, scribbles. Movement physical, walks, eats with a spoon. Watch 18-month milestone, https://youtu.be/jc4umxq4a_c. Warning signs of possible developmental delay, doesn't point to show things to others, doesn't notice or mind when caregiver comes or goes, doesn't gain new words or have at least 6 words, can't walk. Milestones at 2 years. Social emotional, plays mainly beside other children, copies others. Language communication, uses 2 4-word sentences, knows names of body parts. Cognitive, plays simple make-believe, can't follow a 2-step instruction. Movement physical, kicks a ball, copies straight lines and circles. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Watch 2-year milestone, https://youtu.be/qv-sjakr6q. Warning signs of possible developmental delay, doesn't follow simple instructions, doesn't copy actions and words, doesn't use 2-word phrases, doesn't walk steadily. Milestones at 3 years. Social emotional, copies adults and friends. Language communication, talks well enough for strangers to understand most of the time. Cognitive, does puzzles with 3 or 4 pieces. Movement physical, runs easily. Watch 3-year milestone, https://youtu.be/zakztkgcq. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Warning signs of possible developmental delay, doesn't want to play with other children or with toys, doesn't speak in sentences, can't work simple toys, such as pegboards, simple puzzles, turning the handle, falls down a lot or has trouble with stairs. Key points. The best way to monitor children's development is to track their developmental milestones. Developmental milestones are things most children can do by a certain age. Developmental milestones offer important clues about a child's developmental health. Developmental milestones fall into categories of development called domains. Apply what you've learned. Think of a child you know who is under the age of 5. Think of how that child plays, learns, speaks, acts, and moves. List at least 2 ways the child has shown milestones reached in each of the developmental domains. Use the Milestone Checklist at www.cdc.gov/milestones to help. Here is an example. Polly is 2 years old. Here are some of the milestones she has shown me. Social emotional, sometimes Polly greets another child just like I do. Milestone, copies others, especially adults and older children. Sometimes Polly looks right at me and does what I just told her not to. Milestone, shows defiant behavior. Language communication, Polly can take her cup to the trash and then wash her hands when I say. Milestone, follows simple instructions. She can name her shoulders, knees, and toes. Milestone, knows names of familiar people and body parts. Cognitive, thinking, learning, problem solving. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. 1. When we play Papa Cake, Polly says most of the rhyme with me. Milestone, completes sentences and rhymes in familiar books. 2. I've watched Polly hold a toy baby bottle up to her doll's mouth. Milestone, plays simple make-believe games. Movement physical development. 1. She kicks the ball outside. Milestone, kicks a ball. 2. Polly climbs on the playground equipment by herself. Milestone, climbs onto and down from furniture without help. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns Module 2 Quiz. 1. Skills such as taking the first step, smiling for the first time, and waving bye-bye are examples of developmental milestones. A. True. B. False. 2. The best way to monitor children's development is to track their A. Calorie intake. B. Developmental milestones. C. Head circumference. 3. A child not reaching milestones at the expected ages may indicate A. Child is on track developmentally. B. Child may need extra support and services. 4. At what age can most children point to show others something interesting? A. 9 months. B. 12 months. C. 18 months. D. 24 months. 5. Cooing or babbling sounds are a milestone in which domain? A. Social emotional. B. Cognitive. C. Language communication. D. Movement physical. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns Module 2 Quiz Answers. 1. Skills such as taking the first step, smiling for the first time, and waving bye-bye are examples of developmental milestones. A. True. B. False. 2. The best way to monitor children's development is to track their A. Calorie intake. B. Developmental milestones. C. Head circumference. 3. A child not reaching milestones at the expected ages may indicate A. Child is on track developmentally. B. Child may need extra support and services. 4. At what age can most children point to show others something interesting? A. 9 months. B. 12 months. C. 18 months. D. 24 months. 5. Cooing or babbling sounds are a milestone in which domain? A. Social emotional. B. Cognitive. C. Language communication. D. Movement physical. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns Module 3, Objective and Engage Developmental Monitoring Learning Objectives. 1. Understanding what to. How to use CDC tools for 3. How to help families when developmental monitoring is developmental monitoring. There are concerns about development learning objective when understanding what developmental monitoring is. Developmental monitoring means looking for developmental milestones over time and keeping a record of milestones you see. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns, Miss Carolyn explains that you are already monitoring milestones. The first time I heard the term, developmental monitoring, I was really intimidated and thought, this sounds really complicated and time-consuming. How am I going to do that on top of everything else I have to do during the day? I was so relieved when I found out that developmental monitoring is just a fancy way of saying, watch, observe and record what the kids are doing to make sure they're on track. I just mark on a simple checklist when children meet milestones. We observe children every day anyway. We watch what they're doing when they play in the classroom or outside, when they eat, and so on. Monitoring is just that. Watching and observing, and recording what you see. Making a check on a list when a child meets a milestone takes about 2 seconds, and it's easier than just about anything else we do all day. It's definitely easier than getting a room full of toddlers to sleep at nap time, and it's a lot more fun than changing diapers. And if that's all it takes to really make sure each child is on track and to make sure I'm not missing anything in all the hubbub each day, I'm all over it. Developmental monitoring is best done with an objective checklist of typical developmental milestones. Using milestone checklists in developmental monitoring will help you become a better observer of the development of children in your care, better understand the developmental milestones children should reach at certain ages, more easily pinpoint potential developmental concerns for a child, have an objective basis to talk with parents when you are concerned about a child's development. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns and be better prepared to conduct developmental screening with a more formal tool if that is asked of you. Sharing milestone checklists with families and encouraging them to use them at home can also help parents become better observers of their own children's development. Using a checklist at home may confirm for families that their child is developing as he or she should, or it may give them the knowledge and self-confidence to talk with you and their healthcare provider about their concerns. Warning. However helpful, milestone checklists have some important limitations. Milestone checklists are not validated screening tools. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that all children receive a developmental screen using a formal, scientifically tested screening tool at 9, 18, and 24 or 30 months, or whenever there is a concern, and an autism spectrum disorder screen at 18 and 24 months. Using milestone checklists will not satisfy this recommendation. However, using a developmental milestone checklist can help determine if a child needs to be screened more frequently than what is recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics. You may be required to use a validated screening tool and conduct screening. It is important to follow your employer's policies regarding developmental screening and communicating with families. Milestone checklists cannot be used to diagnose any developmental disability. Diagnosing a child with a developmental disability often requires an in-depth evaluation by one or more specialists. Watch Me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns. Learning Objective 2. How to use CDC tools for developmental monitoring. Developmental monitoring can be easy and fun when you have the right tools. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, through its Learn the Signs, Act Early program, offers free, easy-to-use milestone checklists and other materials to help. CDC's Learn the Signs, Act Early materials, including milestone checklists and other helpful tools, are available at www.cdc.gov/actearly. Visit the website to view them, print them, and begin using them today. Watch Me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns. Miss Carolyn shares how monitoring is fun and easy with free CDC materials. So, this may sound really surprising, but I like tracking milestones. I think it's fun, and everything about it fascinates me. The personalities of the children in my class are always so different, but for the most part, they meet their milestones about the same time. But the order in which they meet them can be so different. Keeping up with what each child is doing, and knowing what each child still needs to learn is really easy. In the next section, you're going to learn about some materials from Learn the Signs, Act Early, the program I mentioned earlier. I use the materials for different purposes. For tracking milestones in the classroom, I use the milestone checklists because they're just one page, and I can print them as I need them. There are lots of format choices. One thing we did at the ABC Center was to take some of the materials and put our own logo and contact information on them. Then we had a local printer print them for us. We give them out to families and put them in the waiting areas in the center. If you want to do this too, for your center, all you have to do is email the Act Early people. They'll give you access to the files you need so you can plug in your information and get them printed. It's that easy. Milestone checklists. Milestone checklists are single-page lists of developmental milestones and warning signs of potential developmental delay for specific ages. Features. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Each checklist focuses on a specific age. 2 months through 5 years. Available in English and Spanish. Can be printed with Spanish on reverse. Includes information about when and how parents should act early on concerns. Easily printed in photocopied view and print checklists. New. www.cdc.gov/ncbddd/actarly/pdf/all_checklists.pdf. Milestone Moments Booklet. The Milestone Moments Booklet is a 42-page mini booklet that includes full milestone checklists from 2 months through 5 years of age, with milestones and warning signs for each age. It also includes age-appropriate activities that you can try in the classroom and parents can try at home to help their children learn and grow. This booklet is intended to be kept and used over time. Features: high-quality resource to be kept and used over time to record a child's development. Suggests age-appropriate activities to help children learn and grow. Includes information about when and how parents should act early on concerns. Available in English and Spanish. Pre-printed copies available free in limited quantities. Tips for using the Milestone Checklists. Print a copy of a checklist for every child at the start of the school year. Every month, take time to update each child's checklist with the milestones he or she has reached. Print a copy of a blank checklist for each child's family. Let them know you'll be updating it each month and encourage them to do the same at home. Review the latest checklists at every parent-teacher conference as a way to share the child's progress with the parents. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. View and print English booklet now. www.cdc.gov/ncbvdd/actarly/pdf/parents_PDF/LTSAE_booklet_ milestone_moments_printers. Preads_ready_7.22.11.pdf. View and print Spanish booklet now. www.cdc.gov/ncbddd/actarly/pdf/parents_PDF/LTSAE_booklet_milestone moments_span- printer spreads_web-ready_7.22.11.pdf. Tips for using the Milestone Moments booklet. Provide a copy to every family when their child enrolls. Encourage families to use it at home. See end of this section to learn how to customize and print copies for every family. Try at least one of the suggested activities from the booklet as part of your in-classroom activities. Include at least one of the suggested activities from the booklet in each edition of your monthly newsletter for parents to try at home. Milestones brochure. Track your child's developmental milestones. The Milestones brochure is a colorful and engaging threefold brochure that introduces a few key milestones for ages 6 months to 4 years and explains the importance of looking for milestones and acting early on concerns about development. Features: a great introduction to the importance of developmental monitoring and acting early on concerns. Highlights a few key milestones for a variety of ages. Available in English and Spanish. Easily printed and photocopied. View and print English brochure now. www.cdc.gov/ncbddd/actarly/pdf/parents_PDF/LTSAE_PDF. View and print Spanish brochure now. www.cdc.gov/ncbddd/actarly/pdf/parents_PDF/TRACKSEISHILDSTEVENMILESTONE_PDF. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Tips for using the Milestones brochure. Laminate a copy and post it to the bulletin board outside your classroom. Include copies of the brochure in the Parent Resource Center and in the lobby. Post a link to the brochure on your center's website. Post on the staff refrigerator as a friendly reminder to your coworkers of the importance of developmental monitoring. Growth chart. The growth chart is a great display for the classroom and a reminder to watch and record physical and developmental growth. It includes height on the left side and milestones on the right. It has places for you to add pictures of students in your class. Features: a useful reminder of the importance of tracking both physical and developmental growth. A nice classroom display that can be customized with photos of the children in your class. Highlights a few key milestones at different ages. Available in English with Spanish on reverse. Pre-printed copies available free in limited quantities. www.cdc.gov/ncbddd/actarly/pdf/parents_PDFs/growth chart.pdf. Tips for using the growth chart. 8 few times each year. Mark each child's height on the growth chart and update the customized photos. At the same time, make a mental note about how each child is meeting or working toward the milestones listed. Give each child a blank growth chart on his or her birthday for the family to use at home. See end of this section to learn how to customize and print copies for every family. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Amazing Me. It's busy being 3. This children's book, for kids 21, /2 through 4 years of age, is really amazing. It tells the story of Joey and all the things he can do now that he is 3. Throughout the story, Joey's amazing developmental milestones are called out for teachers and parents at the bottom of almost every page. It's another great reminder of all the amazing developmental milestones to be looking for each day. Features a fun story, tested with teachers, parents, and children, that keeps the attention of a young audience. Beautiful illustrations depicting activities relatable to many children. Milestone moments called out at the bottom of the pages for teachers and parents, and a koala for the children to find each time Joey shows an amazing milestone. Full 3-year-old developmental milestone checklist and age-appropriate activities in the back. Interactive version available at www.cdc.gov/AmazingMe. Pre-printed copies available free in limited quantities. Tips for using Amazing Me. Order a copy for the 3-year-old classroom and incorporate it into weekly reading circle time. Read it aloud to parents and children in the 3-year-old room during an annual, open house or other event for parents. Give a copy to each child on his or her 3rd birthday so families can read it at home. See end of this section to learn how to customize and print copies for every family. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. All of CDC's Learn the Signs. Act early. Materials are research-based, easy to understand, parent-tested, reproducible, no copyright, available in English and Spanish, available to download or print, popular. Free in limited quantities, customizable, and can be printed locally in the quantities you need. Getting materials for every child in your care. CDC offers a limited number of free, pre-printed copies. Items like the Milestone Checklists and brochure print easily from the web using a desktop printer. Feel free to make as many copies as you need. For other items, we encourage you to contact us by emailing actearly@cdc.gov to obtain the file, customize it by adding your logo and local contact information, and talk with your employer about having it printed locally. Remember, milestone checklists do not take the place of developmental screening with a formal, scientifically tested screening tool. If a child is between 2 ages for which checklists are offered, use the checklist for the younger age. For example, use the 18-month checklist for a 20-month-old child, not the 24-month checklist. Talk with your employer about how best to incorporate CDC's Learn the Signs. Act early. Materials into your work and about the possibility of customizing materials and having them printed locally. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Learning Objective 3. How to help families when there are concerns about development. At some point, there are likely to be children in your care who are not meeting developmental milestones as expected. You can play an integral role in helping these children get the help they might need to reach their full potential. Supporting a family with your encouragement to act early on concerns about a child's development is a critical step toward helping a child get the early services he or she might need. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. 1. Developmental monitoring to validate and pinpoint potential developmental concerns. You've learned about developmental monitoring and how to do it earlier in this module. 2. Conversation between the family and the child's doctor about developmental concerns. It is important for parents to talk with their child's doctor about the milestones their child has reached and what to expect next. Ask families to take their milestone checklist to their child's primary healthcare provider or medical home. It is especially important that parents have that conversation if they are concerned about their child's development. Watch Me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. 3. Developmental screening. Using a validated screening tool is conducted to determine if action is necessary. If you or someone in your center conducts developmental screens for the children in your care, be sure to give the parents the screen result and encourage them to share that information with the child's doctor. If you don't conduct screening, encourage the family to ask their child's doctor about conducting a developmental screen. If the family does not have a regular doctor for their child, you can help them find one at the National Center for Medical Home Implementation website. 4. Referral to a specialist for establishing a diagnosis. The child may also be referred to a specialist such as a developmental pediatrician, child neurologist, or child psychologist for a more in-depth medical evaluation that may lead to a specific diagnosis of a developmental disability or other condition. Usually only a pediatrician, family practice doctor, or other healthcare provider refers a family to a medical specialist. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. 5. Referral to the local early intervention system to determine if the child is eligible for services. If a parent is worried about his or her child's development, or if results of developmental monitoring or screening indicate developmental concerns, then you can encourage the family to call their local early intervention provider or local elementary school for a more detailed developmental evaluation to see if he or she would benefit from services such as speech therapy, physical therapy, or other specialized services. The evaluation is free or low cost if conducted by the local public early intervention system or public school system. It determines whether a child is eligible for services but does not usually provide a diagnosis of any specific developmental disability. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns to refer parents to early intervention services. Children 0 to 3 years old. If the child is younger than 3 years old, contact your local early intervention system. Click here to find the website and phone number for your state or territory's early intervention system. Children 3 years old or older. If the child is 3 years old or older, contact your local public school system. Even if the child is not old enough for kindergarten or enrolled in a public school, call your local elementary school and ask to speak with someone who can help you have the child evaluated. In either call, parents should specifically ask about getting an evaluation to determine if their child is eligible for services. I am concerned about my child's development and would like to talk with someone about having my child evaluated. Can you help me or let me speak with someone who can? Key points. Developmental monitoring means looking for children's developmental milestones over time and keeping a record of milestones. You see, developmental monitoring is best done with an objective checklist of typical developmental milestones. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, offers free, easy-to-use milestone checklists for you at www.cdc.gov/milestones. Supporting a family with your encouragement to act early on any concerns is a critical step toward helping a child get the early help he or she might need. It is important to understand the process of referrals and next steps so that you can help families navigate through it. Parents do not need a doctor's referral or a medical diagnosis to contact their early intervention system or public school. Parents do not need a doctor's referral or medical diagnosis to contact their early intervention system or public school to request an evaluation for services. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Apply what you've learned. Choose 1. Learn the signs. Act early. Material and describe how you can use it in your work with children and parents. List the steps you need to get this started. Here is an example. I choose the Milestones brochure. To get started, I will find the brochure on the CDC website, www.cdc.gov/actearly. Print out 15 color copies and fold them into the treefold format. Show them to my center director and tell her I plan to give these out to my parents. Hand them to parents when they come to pick up their child. Tell parents there are some easy ways to learn more about their child's development and that I can help. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Module 3 quiz. 1. Developmental monitoring. Check all that apply. Involves looking for children's developmental milestones over time. Is best done by watching children and comparing them to each other. Involves using an objective milestone checklist for the child's age. Should be done only by trained medical professionals. 2. Developmental screening. Check all that apply. involves using the validated developmental screening tool should be done for all children, usually requires special training, involves looking for children's developmental milestones at specific times. 3. When there are developmental concerns, families should be referred to, check all that apply, their child's health care provider, the local chapter of the American Red Cross, their local early intervention system or public school, the local chapter of the United Way. 4. Do parents need a doctor's referral or a medical diagnosis to contact their early intervention program or their local public school for help if they are concerned about their child's development? A. It depends on their insurance requirements. B. Yes, always. C. Usually, but there are ways around it. D. No. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns Module 3 Quiz Answers. 1. Developmental Monitoring, check all that apply, involves looking for children's developmental milestones over time, is best done by watching children and comparing them to each other, involves using an objective milestone checklist for the child's age, should be done only by trained medical professionals. 2. Developmental Screening, check all that apply, involves using the validated developmental screening tool, should be done for all children, usually requires special training, involves looking for children's developmental milestones at specific times. 3. When there are developmental concerns, families should be referred to, check all that apply, their child's health care provider, the local chapter of the American Red Cross, their local early intervention system or public school, the local chapter of the United Way. 4. Do parents need a doctor's referral or a medical diagnosis to contact their early intervention program or their local public school for help if they are concerned about their child's development? A. It depends on their insurance requirements. B. Yes, always. C. Usually, but there are ways around it. D. No. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns Module 4, How to Talk with Parents About Their Child's Development Learning Objectives. 1. How to Communicate with Families About 2. Development: How to communicate when you have a concern. How to encourage families to be aware of and monitor developmental milestones. How to encourage families to talk with their child's doctor about their child's development. 3. 4. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns Learning Objective 1. How to communicate with families about development. Parents see you as a trusted partner in their child's care, and they look to you for information about how their child is developing. Using good listening skills can make your conversations with parents easier and help you feel more confident. Discuss healthy development with families regularly. Celebrating milestones is infectious. Families begin to see the importance of those accomplishments and will want to take notice as well. Children grow up so quickly. It is as if one day they are beginning to sit up and the next they are playing baseball. All the small steps in between represent important developmental milestones. Rolling over, sitting up, crawling, cruising, walking, running, and others. Just like these movement milestones that are so familiar to parents, their child's social, emotional, communication, language, and cognitive developmental milestones also progress in a series of orderly steps. In addition, there can be clues in those steps that could alert parents to a potential developmental concern. Watch me. Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns. The more you, as their trusted partner and provider, routinely talk with families about their children's development, the more families will be engaged as well. Sharing milestones with parents can help them have realistic expectations and better understand their child's behaviors. If parents do not know when a child should have a certain skill, they may worry unnecessarily. For example, if a parent says she is concerned that her 2-month-old is not rolling over, you can reassure her that rolling over from tummy to back is a typical milestone at 4 months. When a child reaches milestones early or late, it's important to share that information with parents. Parents always like to hear if their child has met a milestone early. For example, today Janie built a tower of 5 blocks. That's a milestone we usually don't see until about 2 years old, so she's a little ahead. Way to go, Janie. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Although it's not as fun to share information about late milestones, it's important to give parents that information as well. For example, Kofi is meeting lots of his 2-year-old milestones. I've seen him copy other children, and he points to things when I say them, and I know he knows names for parts of his body like ears, nose, and eyes. I haven't heard him say short sentences with 2-4 words yet, but I'll keep looking for that milestone too. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Good listening skills help make a conversation more successful. How you carry on the conversation is very important to its success. Using these skills will help build relationships and encourage better communication. During the conversation, listen closely. Try to make eye contact, nod when appropriate, and be silent when the parent is speaking. After listening, repeat back in your own words the parent's main point so he or she will know you heard and understood. For example, if a mother of a child in your care says that her child is not speaking as clearly as her neighbor's child of the same age, you might say, "I hear you saying that you do not hear Ginny speaking clearly." As you listen, also consider how the parent feels about what he or she is saying. Watch and listen closely for clues to those feelings. If you acknowledge those feelings in what you say, you will build a stronger connection with the parent. For example, if a mother seems worried when talking about her child, you might say, "It sounds like you are pretty worried about this." Developing and using these listening skills in your conversations with parents will help to enhance your relationships with parents and make difficult conversations more successful. Watch Miss Carolyn displays active listening skills with a mom of a typically developing child. https://youtu.be/JSTVHMQK3 is. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Learning objective 2. How to encourage families to be aware of and monitor developmental milestones. You set a good example for families when you monitor children's development. Talk with parents regularly about their child's milestones. Encourage them to monitor their child's development at home by sharing the materials available through Learn the Signs. Act early. Encourage families to use developmental milestone checklists to monitor their child's development. Milestone Checklists and the Milestone Moments booklet from CDC's Learn the Signs. Act early. Program are easy to use, proven tools as useful for families as they are for you. These materials can help families understand what typical developmental milestones are at certain ages and can help establish appropriate expectations. Not only will these materials give parents a snapshot of what their child is doing right now, they will help them to anticipate developmental milestones that are emerging or will come next. Having milestone checklists as a reference can greatly help you and the parent think about what kinds of toys might be appropriate and how to create an environment that encourages the child's development. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Parents can refer to the positive parenting tips in the Milestone Moments booklet for ideas. Be sure to encourage families to take a look at the Learn the Signs. Act early. Website and give them ideas of ways they can use the materials. Put the milestones brochure or milestone checklists on the refrigerator and watch for milestones. Put a Milestone Moments booklet in the play area and refer to it at the respective ages. If you build developmental monitoring and feedback into your daily routines, such as in progress reports, for example, then families will begin to notice what their child is accomplishing and might begin monitoring their child's developmental milestones at home. Having frequent conversations about development with families when they drop off or pick up their child can show the parent that you value their child and his or her development. Parents will love to hear that their child used a play phone to call them at work as much as how long he napped. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Learning objective 3. How to communicate when you have a concern. Communicating concerns with families about their child's development will be much easier if you have already established a meaningful relationship, are prepared and focus your conversation on specific developmental milestones. Before raising concerns with families, make sure you are well prepared. Beforehand, invest considerable time in building meaningful and collaborative relationships with the parents. Chances are, parents may already have some concerns of their own and might feel more comfortable having that conversation if they feel they have a relationship with you that is built on mutual respect and open communication. Complete a milestone checklist for the child's age, either as a single sheet or in the Milestone Moments booklet. Find both here. If the child is between ages of the milestone checklists, use the checklist for the younger age. Warning: make sure you know your center's policies. If you work in a child care center or for another employer, there are additional considerations for you. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Be aware of your employer's policies regarding conversations with families. Your center's policy may only allow the director or other administrator to communicate developmental concerns to families. Be aware of your center's referral procedures and community contacts, so that you are prepared with that information if you need to give it to families. Let your supervisor know you plan to have this conversation with a parent and consider asking for him or her to join you for the conversation. Now that you have been observing and monitoring, you have a lot of knowledge and insight about children in your care. You will want to communicate this information in the best way possible. Keep the following tips in mind for your conversation with a parent. Use the completed milestone checklist as the basis for your conversation. The checklist is an objective tool that can both confirm and pinpoint your concerns. And because it was developed by CDC and is based on the gold standard milestone lists from the American Academy of Pediatrics, it offers you enhanced credibility and objectivity in your conversation. Avoid: I think Jason is behind in his development. He can't do things other children can do at his age. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Try: I wanted to take a minute to talk with you about how well Jason is developing. I like to use a checklist for developmental milestones from CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics. It's good for helping us understand his development and which milestones he's met, along with which ones he's still working on. Start off the conversation by highlighting some of the child's strengths. Name some developmental milestones the child has mastered, and say how excited you are to see his or her progress in those areas. Avoid: Jason doesn't know what to do with a toy phone or even a spoon, and there are other milestones he hasn't met either. This list shows all the milestones he can't do. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Try: Jason has made some real progress in his developmental milestones lately. I noticed he really likes to play alongside other children, and he is good at following simple instructions. There are other milestones he's met, and some he's still working on. Let's take a look at this list, and you can fill me in on whether you've seen some of these at home, too. Focus on specific developmental milestones in your conversation, without including any diagnostic labels. Even if you believe you can identify a specific disability in a child, it is never your role to make a diagnosis. Avoid: I saw a special on TV last week about autism, and I am pretty sure that's what Jason has. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Try: Does Jason turn and look at you when you call his name? I have noticed that he does not seem to respond to his name, but continues to play with a truck, spinning the wheels around and around. Be clear about what your call is for the conversation. Be honest, kind, and respectful in your tone. It is okay to say you may be overly concerned, and that it is always best to check with the child's doctor. Avoid: Look at all these milestones Jason is missing on this checklist. That means that something is really wrong with his development. He's way behind the other kids in this room. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Try: Does Jason turn and look at you when you call his name? I have noticed that he does not seem to respond to his name, but continues to play with a truck, spinning the wheels around and around. Make the conversation a two-way discussion. Pause a lot, giving the parent time to think and respond. Remember your active listening skills. Listen to and watch the parent to decide on how to proceed. Pay attention to tone of voice and body language. Avoid, so that's the list. Take it to the doctor and see what he has to say about it. That's what I wanted to cover today. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. TRY, have you seen Jason do some of these milestones at home? Pause. Now that we've looked at the checklist, what are your thoughts? Pause. What do you think is a good idea to do next? Pause. Remind the parent that you care for their child and you want to make sure that the child has every opportunity to be his or her very best. Avoid, Jason is challenging. He's just not like the other kids. But I'm doing what I can with him. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Try, I really love Jason and I am so happy to have him in my class. I want what's best for him, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about this. If we do have a concern, it's best to address it right away. We can talk about this again in a month or so, and maybe by then you can let me know what the doctor's thoughts were. Watch Miss Carolyn has a conversation with a mom discussing her concerns for a child in her class. https://youtu.be/lvhxmdxqc60. It is important to remember that when raising concerns with families, in some ways you are asking them to reconsider their image of their child and potentially their dreams and vision for their future. Some families may be relieved because they had the same concerns themselves but were afraid to raise them. Others may resent or deny your concerns and refuse to accept the information you give them. Whatever the parent's response, if you have the facts based on an objective measure, then you can encourage the families to take that information to their child's healthcare provider. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Learning objective for encouraged families to talk with their child's doctor about their child's development. Parents rely on their child's healthcare provider for advice and information about their child. Whether they and their child have been seeing the same doctor for years or see a different one every visit, parents can enhance their relationship with their child's doctor by having conversations routinely about their child's development. Encourage parents to share their concerns with their child's doctor or healthcare provider. Many families have a regular pediatrician or healthcare provider who can help the family sort out their concerns and think about next steps. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that all children be screened using a formal, scientifically tested screening tool whenever there is a concern, along with routine screenings at 9, 18, and 24 or 30 months and autism screening at 18 and 24 months. Encourage families to ask their child's doctor about developmental screening, especially if a milestone checklist pinpoints a concern. If you or someone in your center regularly screens children in your care with a formal, scientifically tested screening tool, encourage the family to share those screening results with their child's doctor. If the family does not have a regular healthcare provider, then you may want to talk with your center director or employer about helping connect a family to a medical home. You can help them find one at the National Center for Medical Home Implementation website. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. 1. Remind parents that their questions and concerns are important and that sharing them with the child's doctor is an important step to getting their child the early help he or she might need. 2. Print a copy of the tip sheet concerned about development, how to talk with the doctor. And give it to the parent. This sheet includes steps parents can take to prepare for the visit with the doctor, ways parents can ensure that all of their questions and concerns are addressed, how parents can be sure they've understood what the doctor has told them and the next steps to take, and what parents can do if they feel uneasy about the advice the doctor has given them. 3. Later, follow up with the parents to find out how the visit with the doctor went. Ask if there is anything you can do in the classroom to help support the next steps for the child. If you're unsure about agreeing to a specific request, tell the parent that you'd like to talk it over with your supervisor first. If the parent is not satisfied with how the visit went or is feeling uneasy about what the doctor said, encourage the parent to consider getting a second opinion. Remember, providing support to parents to help them act early on developmental concerns may take a little extra effort, but can make a world of difference for the child and the whole family. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Watch pulling it all together. Miss Carolyn shares a case study of twins, Jacob and Tyler, https://youtu.be/INKNZMQ. Key points. Discuss healthy development with families regularly. When you talk with families, be mindful of cultural differences. Good listening skills help make a conversation more successful. Encourage families to use developmental milestone checklists to monitor their child's development before raising concerns with families. Make sure you are well prepared. Encourage the parent to talk with the child's doctor or healthcare provider. Apply what you've learned. Are you concerned about the development of a child in your care? Have you talked with his or her parent about your concerns? If you have, think about that conversation in light of what you've learned in this module. What did you say to the parent? How did you say it? Did you encourage the parent to talk to the child's doctor? Did you suggest the parent call the early intervention program? What would you have done differently now, after this training? If you have not talked with the parent, think about how you might have that conversation. How do you need to prepare? What resources will you gather to provide to the parent? Who else at your center will you include in the conversation? What suggestions will you give the parent? Use the information in this module to help you. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Module 4 quiz. 1. Discussing development with families regularly can help you check all that apply. Identify potential concerns about a child's development. Diagnose a child with autism. Have realistic expectations and better understand children's behaviors. Encourage parents to talk to their child's doctor if they are concerned. 2. Good listening skills involve check all that apply. Listening closely, making eye contact, and nodding when appropriate. Repeating back in your own words the parent's main point. Interrupting when necessary. Considering how the parent feels. 3. When you bring up a concern about a child's development with his or her parents, check all that apply. For the first conversation, it's not necessary to talk to your supervisor beforehand or find out your center's policies. It doesn't matter if you haven't talked with the parents much in the past, because you can get to know them when you talk about your concerns. It helps to have a completed milestone checklist to use in your conversation to provide an objective basis for your concerns. 4. It is important to encourage all parents to talk to their child's doctor about their child's development. A. True. B. False. Watch me. Celebrating milestones and sharing concerns. Module 4 quiz answers. 1. Discussing development with families regularly can help you check all that apply. Identify potential concerns about a child's development. Diagnose a child with autism. Have realistic expectations and better understand children's behaviors. Encourage parents to talk to their child's doctor if they are concerned. 2. Good listening skills involve check all that apply. Listening closely, making eye contact, and nodding when appropriate. Repeating back in your own words the parent's main point. Interrupting when necessary. Considering how the parent feels. 3. When you bring up a concern about a child's development with his or her parents, check all that apply. For the first conversation, it's not necessary to talk to your supervisor beforehand or find out your center's policies. It doesn't matter if you haven't talked with the parents much in the past, because you can get to know them when you talk about your concerns. It helps to have a completed milestone checklist to use in your conversation to provide an objective basis for your concerns. 4. It is important to encourage all parents to talk to their child's doctor about their child's development. A. True. B. False.
We can stop that share. And I'm going to tell you something. It's critical that we assess the development of the children enrolled in public education. And as for the milestones, the development of young African American children, I mean, it's critical. We're not talking about that. And even though earlier, you may have seen where I recorded the legislative people talking about mental health for African American students, the mental health process is real. To understand what type of learner your child is, what type of assessments are they providing. And I don't think they're providing any assessments. Therefore, that's why I have to question the process. And I'm going to end this recording for now so I can upload it because this was done on my home computer. Thank you.